Entry-level hiring at the Big Four collapsed by up to 44% since ChatGPT launched. Not a layoff, not a recession. An extinction event for the first rung of the white-collar career ladder, and Gen Z is standing on the wreckage. Look at youth unemployment across the rich world. In 2022, it was finally healing post-COVID. Then ChatGPT launched in November 2022. By 2023, the curve bent the wrong way in every AI-exposed economy. The UK youth unemployment rate climbed past 12%. France sits above 17%. Sweden, Canada, and South Korea all spiking. Germany, historically the safe haven for young workers thanks to its apprenticeship system, saw youth unemployment rise for the first time in over a decade. This isn't a labor market hiccup. The jobs that used to absorb 22-year-olds, junior analyst, paralegal, copywriter, first-year auditor, entry-level developer, are exactly the jobs large language models do for free. The bottom rung didn't get harder to reach. It got sawed off. Here's the obvious counter. It's just a bad economy, everyone's struggling. Wrong. Total unemployment in these same countries is near 50-year lows. The U.S. sits around 3.6%, Germany under 3.5%, Japan barely 2.6%. The aggregate labor market has never looked healthier. But youth unemployment is running 2 to 4 times higher than the adult rate, the widest gap on record for many of these countries. In the UK, the youth-to-adult unemployment ratio hit its highest point this century. In 2000, young workers were roughly 1.8x more likely to be unemployed than older workers. Today, they're 3 to 4x more likely. This is not a tide that lifts or sinks all boats. This is a precision strike on one specific generation, the one whose job description overlaps most with what AI can already do. When young people can't find work, they don't just sit on the unemployment line, they disappear from it. Watch labor force participation for 15 to 24-year-olds. In the U.S., it's collapsed from 65% in 2000 to under 56%. South Korea fell from 33% to around 28%. Japan, France, Germany, all trending down. Economists call them NEETs, not in employment, education, or training. The official unemployment number undercounts the carnage because once you stop applying, you stop existing in the data. The real Gen Z lockout is far worse than the headline rate suggests. Millions of young people have looked at a job market that wants 5 years of experience for a $48,000 role an AI can do in 6 seconds, and quietly checked out. Now, for the kill shot to the bad economy excuse. GDP per capita growth across these countries is positive. The U.S. grew 1.9% per capita in 2023. Japan grew 1.7%. Korea, Canada, Australia, all expanding. Corporate profits hit records. The S&P 500 hit all-time highs. Labor productivity in the U.S. jumped sharply in 2023 and 2024, the biggest gains in over a decade. So the economy is growing. Productivity is exploding, profits are surging, and yet entry-level hiring is cratering. That combination has a name. It's not recession, it's not stagnation. It's automation dividend. Output goes up, the wage bill goes down, and the humans who used to do the work, overwhelmingly young, overwhelmingly entry-level, get left out of the prosperity entirely. Surely the answer is education, right? Get the degree, get the job. Except Gen Z already did that. Tertiary enrollment in advanced economies has exploded. South Korea hit 98%. Nearly every young Korean goes to university. Australia hit 130%, counting international and returning students. The US, UK, France, Germany, all near or above historic peaks. Gen Z is the most credentialed cohort in human history, and it's the cohort getting locked out of white-collar work. The just go to college playbook worked when degrees signaled scarce skills. Now every barista has a bachelor's, and the entry-level jobs those degrees were supposed to unlock are being absorbed by a chatbot. The credential arms race ended. the credentials lost. Compare the countries head-to-head and the pattern locks in. The economies most exposed to AI, high services share, English-speaking, knowledge work dominant, show the largest gaps between adult and youth unemployment. The US, UK, Canada, Australia. The economies with stronger apprenticeship pipelines and manufacturing bases, Germany, Japan, held up better. But even they're cracking in 2023. AI exposure correlates almost perfectly with Gen Z labor pain. This is the fingerprint of a technology shock, not a business cycle. The countries that automated knowledge work fastest are the ones whose 22-year-olds can't get hired. Here's the verdict. Gen Z isn't lazy. They're not entitled, they're not unlucky. They're the first generation in modern history whose career ladder was demolished by a technology before they got to climb it. The data is unambiguous. Economies are growing. Adults are employed. Productivity is up. Profits are up. And youth unemployment, youth dropout, and youth despair are all rising at the same time, hardest in the countries most exposed to AI. This is not a recession. It's a structural amputation of the entry-level white-collar job. And until we admit that, until we stop telling 22-year-olds to just network harder, we are going to lose a decade of human potential to a problem we keep refusing to name. If you want the story the headlines won't tell you, backed by World Bank data, not vibes, subscribe. 1 video a week, zero hedging, just the numbers and what they actually mean.